So, hey, feel like I'm jumping into the depths that man should never dare descend, that is the Sonic fanbase's radar. But I am a huge fan of the Blue Blur, being enthralled with his quality titles, colorful cartoons, and adventurous comics, and even though the comics helped introduce me to a lot of the world and especially the American version of the series, I didn't really read much of them. And can you blame me? Look how much there is to go through, like Jesus Christ, this ran for 25 unholy years. But during the pandemic, when I didn't have, any shit to do, I went and read through the entirety of the pre-Genesis wave of Archie Sonic, and I discovered something. Yeah, he ain't fucking him.
What?
Especially after going over the impressive shit Sonic's been doing in the games for decades, this comes off as really unimpressive for the most part. But then again, people have been hyping this guy up for years, saying he solos all of anime, Marvel, DC, whatever fiction virgin weebs like. And even then, they just take his feats completely out of context half the time. But not me. I sat down and read all of it. So why don't I tell you how strong is Cuckboy the Hedgehog? And although this video is mostly pre-Super Genesis Wave focused, I will be bringing up some talked about feats he has in the reboot. But before I go over what this guy can actually do, I want to first cover a very common power that is thrown around for him, and that's fate manipulation. There's about 3 points of evidence that are used for this, and they all fucking suck. The first point actually shows to me that anyone who uses it looked at an Archie Sonic video or some Reddit post, because this is completely taken out of context. Mammoth Mogul makes this claim, and he is not privy to the fact that he has a cursed Chaos Emerald. This is even stated by head writer Ian Flynn, who also calls him the strongest. And even then, Mogul says that he loses due to Sonic's presence, even though Tails is the chosen one that takes him down and is unironically the strongest in the verse. The second piece of evidence is Eggman's Chaos Theory, which is just that, a theory of a sore loser that even Snively laughs at, and Eggman even says that the Chaos Factor is working in his favor, meaning even going by his theory, it doesn't just pertain to Sonic alone. On to the third point, which is that Prime Sonic can never lose. This is pretty stupid since this man has lost several fights and gotten his ass kicked multiple times. Maybe you can say that actually means, but it always works out for him. But Sonic isn't even always the one to save the day. Other people do shit too and save his ass, and again, he loses plenty of fights in the series. But let's get on to the real feats, starting with speed. That thing he's kinda known for.
Fast for the naked eye.
I'll go over his best speed feats, and then I'm gonna explain why none of them fucking matter, because his speed scaling is way more iffy than his fanboys make it out to be. And Mobius is confirmed to be Earth, just in the future, so any distances that I compare to Earth are valid, and do note that I'll only be using base Sonic right now. I'll get to the other forms later. Can move at attoseconds in the Sonic Blast special, along with him saying he can move at twice the speed of light in the same special. It takes him 3 to 4 seconds to circle the planet, whereas light can travel around the world 7.5 times in less than a second. It's stated in the Sonicgrams to be able to visit all the planets in the universe, even the ones we don't know about, in the time it takes you to read this paragraph. And in A Night of 1,000 Sonic, Sonic finds 1,000 versions of himself through the Cosmic Interstate, which is said to be 148,000 light years from universe to universe. Now on to why I don't believe this stuff is valid. When asked specifically about these feats, such as the twice the speed of light, universal travel speed, and being able to circle the planet, head writer Ian Flynn says, the earlier books are in a fuzzy state of continuity and can be discounted. It seems more like the comic had a soft reboot, as not only did the tone drastically change after these early issues, which were more of a gag comic more in line with the tone of the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. As the book goes on, it becomes far more serious.
You should have gone for the head.
And if Sonic is light speed or above, then this doesn't line up, as we have numerous instances where it is depicted he is not. And before any of the anti-Ian Flynn naysayers say this is just Flynn retconning again, while other writers besides him, like the criminally underrated Carl Bollers, also contradict this high-end speed of Sonic. Sonic says it would take him 30 minutes to get to Mount Mobius. Sonic needing this long to reach what looks like a simple plane away from where he is basically debunks him being light speed. Before any of you throw out that I'm just like, this is an outlier, I got more outliers for you. Sonic says it would take a couple of hours to get to Megalopolis from the Acorn Kingdom at his top speed. In issue 175, Sonic breaks his limits and moves faster than what Eggman had previously calculated, and even then he can only cross what looks like a continent in a few seconds and back, which is fast but not necessarily light speed. And we even see Eggman's mech is able to react to Sonic in this scene, and we later see this same mech in like 2 issues later, that he is getting thrashed apart by the Freedom Fighters and the Chaotix. And none of those characters show anything impressive in terms of speed, and we also see just a few issues earlier that they are not only slower than Sonic, but weaker. And it's always been depicted that Sonic is above the Freedom Fighters even since the Penders era, so this is fairly consistent. So although I do agree Sonic is stronger than the Freedom Fighters, doesn't necessarily scale like several tiers above them. There's still relativity there. He can't make it to 3 locations around the world fast enough to save its friends, and as I established, Sonic scales over the Freedom Fighters and Chaotix in combat ability. We see him take them all down single-handedly, so saying Sonic can't save them all in this instance because mind-controlled Mighty and Tails will give him trouble is completely baseless, and although Mighty has greater AP than base Sonic, we've seen Sonic already defeat him prior to this issue, and we also know Mighty isn't even that good a fighter since he is stronger than Knuckles yet lost to him. And Knuckles even states that he lacks the training to properly beat him, Knuckles also being in the same tier of combat ability as Sonic. And even the official encyclopedia says he can achieve upwards of Mach 1, yet they say nothing about lightspeed. Yes, they don't state he can't, but the fact that they didn't in the official guide is quite telling, especially since we have 2 guides, the other being from the 5th free comic book, which just says the same as the encyclopedia. And even Sonic himself just says he's faster than sound. And finally, it's Sonic being able to move in stop time. Now this is Sonic Man, who is Sonic turned into a roboticized master. Roboticization makes you stronger. We see this when Sonic is roboticized in the Mecha Madness special, and gets a power-up due to such. And roboticized masters are stronger versions of roboticized Mobians. So even though this is a stronger Sonic, I still think I need to talk about this feat as it's used as Sonic's best speed feat. And without the context, Sonic being too fast for stop time is impressive. As I said, it's only impressive without context. We know that Sonic Man was built by Dr. Wily, and Dr. Wily created Flashman, the wielder of the Time Stopper, and we see that right after this stop time feat, that Sonic Man battles Mega Man, who is the roboticized master version of Mega Man. And these two show relativity to each other, with both being able to tag the other with attacks. And this is important because we see prior to this fight that Mega Man can get hit by the Freedom Fighters like fucking Big, or even someone faster like General. And Sonic had stated numerous times before, during, and after this crossover to be the fastest. So base Sonic is faster than these guys who can tag Mega Man, who can tag supposedly infinite speed Sonic. Well, Sonic Man. If you couldn't catch on before, I think Sonic Man being able to move in stop time is just because he can most likely neg the ability that Wily created. I don't think this proves Sonic has infinite or inaccessible speed. And as for anyone saying that, well, maybe everybody in the verse just has infinite speed, please click off my video, like right now, just click off, please. As for its other stats, say his durability, this isn't a write home about either, as he should be more like in the building to nuclear to continental ranges of durability. Now before you click off, give me like a second to explain myself, then you can pull up pitchforks, because who cares about empirical evidence? This is the internet. Issue 110, nukes are sent off to Robotropolis, and Sonic must stop them as they are a threat to everyone including him. This is also pretty consistent since earlier in the comic during the Mecha Madness special, nukes are able to harm Mecha Sonic and Mecha Knuckles, just showing that nukes are consistently portrayed as a threat to these characters. Issue 85, Sonic is worried when a building will fall on him. Yes, he does survive this, but the fact that he thinks this is whatsoever a threat to him doesn't speak highly of his durability, or at least what he thinks of his durability. It's also commonly used to say that Sonic has planetary durability since he survives being blasted to another planet, I think he just got teleported from the quantum dial, and there's no damage or not even a crater where he landed. It's overall not consistent with what I've laid out. His big durability feat that people use is that he survived a existence erasure feat, attack. But although this is how the Ultimate Annihilator works, everyone survived this as it was reprogrammed just to kill Robotnik and no one else. And as I said, everyone survived this. Even people like Sally and Mina, who are threatened by basic bullets. I almost forgot about Sonic's special aura, which helped him reverse the effects of roboticization. But this is after a ring is supercharged to even pull this off. Sonic can't just shrug off effects done to him because of his aura, but it does more than likely let him resist dark magic, as we saw when he was immune to Finitivis's curse, and he is stated to have greater durability than the average Mobian. As for his AP, he is shown to be able to consistently hurt people like Mogul, Knuckles, and Shadow, but none of them have like super impressive feats in the sense that, oh, they just nuked a planet or some shit. As I'm more so focused on Sonic's cross-verse scaling in general, not really his inverse scaling, but if there's something impressive that I've forgotten or overlooked, then be a doll and scream it to me in the comments section. Quick edit from Future Veggie, but I had realized this feat while rereading the Enerjack arc, but Base Shadow is consistently portrayed as equal or stronger than Base Sonic, and when Shadow removes his inhibitor rings to become Chaos Shadow, he can do Chaos Blast, which Nicole and Sally think can destroy all of New Mobotropolis. This is a pretty small city and looks more like a town, like a small town, so Base Sonic most likely doesn't have even town level AP or at least destructive capacity. Okay, back to the main video. Now let's move on from the vanilla green-eyed monstrosity and go on to the surprisingly legal transformations. Sonic's most impressive feats are definitely in his super forms. I want to get the big feats out of the way, that being the Genesis Wave feats. The first Genesis Wave was powered by one Chaos Emerald, and it only changed history with what seemed like on Mobius, and Supersonic reversed this after channeling a bunch of energy of all 7 Chaos Emeralds being used for the Genesis Wave. But the world was already tearing and reverting before Supersonic did anything, with him just better fixing the changes Eggman made. And even then, Supersonic had to tap into a bunch of Chaos Energy, more so than he ever did before. So saying he can just kind of reverse time all of a sudden at any given moment is pretty weak in my opinion, and also just seems out of character for Sonic to even do this, as he only did it in this instance when time itself was being affected so harshly. The big feat, the Super Genesis Wave, which rebooted the entire canon, is also misconstrued, as the SGW, as I'm going to refer to it as, was charging up the Chaos Energy with all the emeralds for the entire crossover, and then it launched the SGW. All Sonic did was control some of that energy to limit the amount of damage of the wave. So although I find Sonic controlling that much energy even by a mere extent impressive, I don't think Sonic can just alter reality whenever he feels. You could say he could charge up that amount of energy on his own if he had the time, but super forms aren't that sustainable, and I'd be hard pressed to say he even lasts an hour. And Sonic did need to concentrate pretty hard just to even pull off this feat. We do see him mess up, but further to prove my point that Sonic can't just alter reality on a whim, in the second Mega Man crossover they then try to use the Super Chaos Control again without the SGW, but it fails, cementing that Sonic can't just alter a multiverse on his own, or even with another super character to aid him. The other feat and statement used to upscale Supersonic is his fight against Hyper Knuckles, as they destroy a whole zone from their clash, but this is a pocket zone, not a universal size zone, so good AP overall if they can destroy a small time space, I guess, which should possibly have high 3D levels of power. Nope, guess he'd just trash. Moving on. People also use Ixis creating the Zone of Silence to show that even base level characters can output universal levels of energy, but it is further extrapolated on in the official encyclopedia, where it says the zone already existed and that Ixis expanded on it, and even then it's listed as 1/2 of a pocket zone. And as for Supersonic's invulnerability, it's overhyped, as people don't like to acknowledge their levels of invulnerability, as we've seen other people on Supersonic's tier damage him, like Enerjack, Master Mogul, Perfect Chaos, and Hyper Knuckles, and even Super Shadow thinks a fall from Earth's orbit will kill him. Yes, he does survive, but the fact that he thought he wouldn't in his highest form isn't that great, and especially bad that the Zorda, who had the tech to one-shot Super Shadow, have to retreat from Eggman the mountain-busting robot. Not saying that the super characters cap under mountain level, just showing that they're not busting multiverses every time they appear. Supersonic also doesn't scale to Enerjack Knuckles, as Knuckles is heavily drained from the egg grapes before fighting Supersonic. And as for speed, there's nothing really to boast about either. It is said in the Supersonic vs. Hyper Knuckles special that they move at incalculable speeds, but I find this pretty meh since the non-super characters are able to react to super tier characters, like the Freedom Fighter, the Knuckles during the Perfect Chaos battle, Silver or Sonic himself when he fought either Super Scourge or Supersonic. And as for his scaling against Sigma, Sigma was destroying Sonic when he was at his peak, which was reached by absorbing the energy from multiple different worlds. Not all worlds in the multiverse, since he himself says there's still more worlds to conquer, but Sigma only starts losing after Eggman and Wily cut him off from his generator, which nerfed him. This also goes the same for Mogul, as I've seen many think there's only one version of Master Mogul, but that's not true, there's two. The first is when he absorbs the power of Dimitri's Enerjack and fights Supersonic, Hyper Knuckles, and Turbo Tails, and it's because of Tails that he loses. And the second version is much stronger, and a lot more than you think, as Mogul absorbs a bunch of energy from Turbo Tails and then all of Chaos Knuckles' energy, Chaos Knuckles being someone who is stated stronger than Dimitri at his peak, and beat on Turbo Tails, who's claimed to be greater than Hyper Knuckles and Supersonic, and Mogul then absorbs all the fucking power of the Chaos Force, which is Sonic's equivalent of the Speed Force, and it took Tails beating this guy by merging with all his other universe counterparts to beat. Sonic has no scaling to this guy, and Titan Tails and this version of Master Mogul should stand at the top of the verse in my opinion, even above the Ancient Walkers and Aurora, since Chaos Knuckles would said to surpass the Walkers in time when becoming accustomed to his abilities, with the final act being compared to a supernova, with Mogul absorbing all that energy and being able to use all of the Chaos Force and being amped by Turbo Tails, so I do think these two are at the peak of the verse. I do think super characters are definitely in the planetary ranges at their lowest, since evil Supersonic said he could easily blow up 2 moons, Scourge said that Enerjack and Supersonic would destroy Mobius, Super Scourge claims he could split a planet, or in the reboot Sonic says that Super Armored Mega Man could blow up their world. Planetary feats do seem within these character limits of AP. As for Ultrasonic, he is more than likely stronger than Supersonic, since we see Sonic go from Super to Ultra, but how strong he is we just don't know. He doesn't have any real statements or anything. He can manipulate elements and seal up a zone portal, but again, nothing really besides being vaguely above his super state. And a lot of people, especially now, try to use the games to upscale Archie comics, as Sega recently said everything is canon on their Twitter. And the Archie Sonic comics do ask the readers to check out games to get stories that they themselves aren't covering. The problem is that not only did Ian Flynn state years ago that the Gameverse is a separate continuity from the comics, and yes, I know he's probably less credible than Sega themselves, but the games just can't coexist with the comics, and here's a list of examples. Knuckles, Tails, and Amy aren't involved with the events of SA2, and that story is completed within a single night, which contradicts the game. SA1 had the Freedom Fighters involved, and Chaos was sealed in the Ancient Onyx and not the Master Emerald. All the Echidna lore does not fucking work with the games. There are thousands of Chaos Emeralds in the Archie canon, with the 7 iconic ones being made by Tails, Shadow, and Adam, well after there should have just been 7. The events of Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic Heroes don't happen. Shadow was saved by the Bem and not Eggman. The planet is Mobius and not Earth. The Death Egg isn't a thing till like much after Sonic meets both Tails and Knuckles. Metal Sonic is Mecha Sonic, and Mecha Sonic is Silver Sonic, and Sonic is Mecha. Wait, what? Eggman technically isn't related to Gerald or Maria, since he's actually a robot from a different universe. Where the fuck is Sonic CD? They don't even use the time stones in the middle Sonic issue. Tails and Sonic met, like, well before even a Sonic 2 adaptation. The Rivaled series doesn't happen, and Silver is from a completely different timeline than the games. I could honestly go on, but it's not necessary, and no, Unleashed and the other titles don't happen in the pre-reboot timeline. The only one that seems to happen is 06, which happened off-screen and no one seems to remember it. So no, I'm not counting Solaris scaling, since we don't even know what happened in those events of the story. Please remember, I didn't make this video to bash on Sonic or his comics. As insane as these books are, I truly love them, and hope to make more videos covering them, but this is by far one of the most overhyped characters I've ever seen. Really goes to show what happens when you don't research things properly and just claim that somebody smacked Superman. But if you like me talking about Sonic, then maybe I'll release some more videos on the guy, non-power scaling ones. But thanks for watching, and see you next time.